Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before starting the video, please consider leaving a like. It really motivates us to keep sharing useful content. Also, don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel and activate the little bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos about Islamic faith. Thank you all and enjoy the video. Have you ever found yourself deeply yearning for someone? Wondering if that desire in your heart is merely a passing emotion or a divine signal? That constant longing, that whisper of their name in your prayers, the silent hope that they are meant for you. It's more than just infatuation. It's a part of your soul asking for clarity, asking for direction. And sometimes, when we bring that longing before God, the silence we receive isn't a rejection. It might be something much more sacred, a divine pause, a holy stillness where God is preparing everything behind the scenes. You may have prayed countless times, God, if this is the person for me, show me a sign, make it clear to me. And yet, instead of an immediate answer, you felt suspended in uncertainty. But here's what we often miss. God doesn't always answer with thunder and lightning. More often than not, He responds with subtle signs, gentle shifts, and a strange, persistent peace that clings to your heart when you think of that person. He speaks through the small things, the unexplainable comfort you feel, the unexpected moments where everything aligns, the stillness of your heart in their presence. Many people give up because they don't recognize when God is actually saying yes. We expect an obvious confirmation, a dramatic revelation. But that's not how divine communication always works. It often happens in quiet moments, in gentle reassurances that bypass logic and go straight to your soul. And if you are noticing certain signs, not from your overthinking, but signs that bring calmness and clarity, then perhaps God is gently affirming your desire. When you are constantly drawn to someone in a way that feels pure, when you begin praying for their well-being as much as you pray for your own, when their name becomes a regular guest in your conversations with God, it's not something you should ignore. There is a difference between obsession and divine attachment. Obsession creates chaos and anxiety, but divine attachment brings surrender, peace, and growth. God will not place someone in your heart so deeply for no reason, especially if that longing brings you closer to Him. This person, whoever they are, may have awakened something spiritual inside of you. Maybe they reminded you to pray. Maybe they helped you think deeper about your life, your character, your intentions. And isn't that the kind of love we all hope for? One that makes us better. One that drives us to kneel more, to reflect more, and to love more sincerely. Not just the person, but the one who created them. So if you're wondering whether your desire is being heard, it is. If you're watching this with a heart full of silent prayers, God sees it. And He may be showing you signs already, but you must learn to look beyond the surface. His answers are often hidden in peace, not noise. Not every desire is a test. Some are preparations for blessings. Maybe this is one of them. Maybe you're not just imagining it. Maybe God is whispering, yes. Not every desire in your heart is a sign from God. And not every feeling of love means that person is meant for you. One of the greatest mistakes people make is rushing into relationships based on emotion alone, without spiritual discernment. Feelings can be powerful, yes, but they are not always accurate. The heart can be deceived when it is driven by loneliness, fear, or desperation. That is why true guidance comes when your heart is not only in love, but also in alignment with divine wisdom. Spiritual discernment is the ability to separate your emotions from God's direction. It is when you can pause and ask yourself, is this love leading me toward God? Or is it distracting me from Him? It's when you don't just follow your heart blindly, but you surrender that heart to the one who created it. Because ultimately, no matter how strong the feeling, if God is not in it, it will not bring peace. But if God is in it, even the waiting will be peaceful. Sometimes, your heart can desire something so deeply that it begins to look for signs in everything. You start interpreting random events as confirmations. A dream, a coincidence, a word someone said. Your mind tries to build a pattern out of thin air. This is not spiritual discernment. It's emotional projection. That's why prayer, patience, and stillness are necessary. They protect you from being misled by your own desires. God is not the author of confusion. He is the giver of clarity. If your connection with that person is bringing you closer to faith, to humility, to self-control, and to prayer, that's worth noticing. But if your heart is consumed by fear, jealousy, or constant anxiety about them, it may not be a divine connection. It might just be a soul clinging to something it's afraid to lose. Discernment is knowing the difference between a test and a blessing, between what is seasonal and what is sacred. So how do you develop this discernment? You start by quieting your emotions. You fast. You pray sincerely. You ask God not just to give you that person, but to remove them if they are not good for your soul. That prayer is hard, but it shows that you are more loyal to God's will than to your own longing. And when you reach that level of surrender, that is when you are most open to hearing God's answer clearly. Remember, God wants you to be happy, but more than that, He wants you to be rightly guided. He wants to give you not just what you want, but what you need. When you trust that, you stop chasing signs and start receiving them. Your heart no longer panics. It becomes still, observant, and ready to be led. If God is saying yes, He will show you through peace, through patience, and through purity. But you must be spiritually alert to recognize that. Not everything you feel is from God, but everything from God will feel like truth. One of the clearest signs that God is saying yes to your desire to be with a particular person is when the connection begins to transform you in ways that align with His guidance. Love, when it is rooted in the divine, does not just excite your emotions. It refines your character. It does not make you obsessed or distracted, but instead awakens something deeper in your spirit. You begin to strive for more honesty, more patience, more self-control, and above all, a closer relationship with God. The transformation is not by accident. It's a reflection of divine intention. Think about it. When someone enters your life and suddenly you find yourself praying more, purifying your heart, being more intentional with your time and your actions, that is not ordinary. That is sacred. It's as if their presence calls you upward. Not because they demand it, but because something about the bond invites growth. This is a spiritual indication that the connection may be God-approved. Love that is divinely guided purifies you, not poisons you. Sometimes, you may even notice that your bad habits start to fade. You become more mindful of your speech, more protective of your energy, more disciplined in your faith. Not out of pressure, but out of inspiration. You want to become a better version of yourself, not to impress them, but to be worthy of the prayer you once made. God, send me someone who will bring me closer to you. And now that person has entered your thoughts, your heart, and your prayers, and something within you knows that this is not just emotional, it's spiritual. Another powerful sign is when your connection with this person feels clean. There's no secret sin, no manipulation, no guilt. You're not hiding anything. You feel free to be honest. And you are not afraid to bring God into every conversation about the relationship. That's a big sign. Because when something is from God, you do not feel the need to keep it in the dark. You want God to be involved, to guide it, bless it, and protect it. The transformation also shows itself in how you handle challenges related to the connection. Instead of reacting with immaturity or ego, you begin to respond with patience and reflection. Even in moments of distance or misunderstanding, you find yourself asking God for wisdom instead of reacting out of fear. This maturity is not from you alone. It's a result of a bond that is under divine nurturing. Real love, the kind that God breathes into your life, doesn't just excite your feelings. It realigns your soul. It prepares you, not just for marriage, but for spiritual growth. And that growth often begins before anything becomes official. That's how you know it's from God, because He begins the transformation within you before He unites you with someone else. And if that person has already triggered this inner evolution, it's very possible that God is whispering yes. When God is saying yes to your desire to be with someone, one of the most subtle yet powerful confirmations comes through peace. A peace that settles in your heart even when circumstances are unclear. It's not a loud excitement or a temporary rush. It's a calm assurance, a quiet certainty that does not depend on what you see in the physical world. Even when there is no clear outcome, no official commitment or no obvious progress, your heart does not panic. Instead, it trusts that peace is not from you, it is from God. And that kind of peace is a divine signal. People often confuse peace with comfort. But real spiritual peace is deeper than that. It doesn't mean everything is perfect or easy. It means your soul is not at war. It means you're not constantly doubting, overthinking, or feeling spiritually conflicted. You're not being pulled between fear and faith. You're not constantly drained or emotionally unstable. Instead, you feel rooted. You feel like you can breathe again when you think of them. And even if things are moving slowly or seem delayed, you sense that something sacred is happening behind the scenes. This type of peace is unique. It allows you to wait without growing bitter. It helps you pray without demanding results. You're not anxiously checking your phone or trying to control outcomes. You're just trusting, deeply, fully, and quietly. Because deep down, you know that if God has placed this desire in your heart, He will not leave it unfulfilled without reason. And that knowing doesn't come from logic. It comes from faith. That's why peace is a sign. Because peace is the fruit of trust. And trust is the language of those who are truly aligned with God's will. Another indicator of God's yes is when you feel spiritually protected around this desire. There's no fear of sin, no compromise of your values, no guilt dragging behind your prayers. You feel safe, spiritually. Your connection with this person does not make you feel distant from God. In fact, it draws you closer. You're not ashamed to talk to God about them. You invite Him into every thought, every emotion, and every decision. That sense of safety, that open communication with the Creator, is a sign that what you're holding in your heart is not a distraction. It might be a direction. The peace you feel is not just emotional comfort. It is divine stability. Even when doubts try to creep in, that peace gently silences them. It doesn't mean you never question anything. It means the questioning doesn't shake your foundation. You remain anchored in faith. And in that stillness, you're able to say, even if I don't understand everything right now, I trust that God is guiding this. So if you find yourself feeling a quiet, unshakable peace about someone, even in the midst of uncertainty, pay attention. That peace might be heaven's way of saying, yes, wait, trust. Because God's yes is not always loud. Sometimes it comes in the silence that surrounds your deepest prayers. When God is saying yes to your desire to be with someone, He doesn't just move your heart. He also starts moving everything around you. It's like watching pieces of a divine puzzle slowly falling into place. Doors begin to open that you didn't even knock on. Conversations flow effortlessly. Circumstances start shifting in your favor. Not because you forced anything, but because God is aligning the timing, the hearts, and the external world in a way that supports what's happening within you. That alignment is one of the most powerful confirmations you can receive. You may notice that this person enters your life at a very specific moment. Not too early, not too late, but precisely when you've reached a certain stage in your personal or spiritual growth. It feels almost too perfectly timed to be random. That's because God doesn't just unite people. He prepares them first. He works on their hearts, clears their past wounds, aligns their paths, and softens their egos. When two people are being guided by Him, their journeys begin to converge naturally, without force or confusion. When something is meant by God, He will send confirmation after confirmation, not through dramatic signs, but through consistency. The person will show up again and again, with honesty, with clarity, with intention. Their actions will begin to match their words. You'll notice that their presence doesn't bring confusion, but reassurance. And even when doubts arise, they are addressed through open conversation and mutual understanding, not avoidance or games. Sometimes, the alignment also shows itself in how your paths start to merge. You may find yourselves being drawn toward the similar goals, shared values, or a common vision of what life and love should look like. That shared purpose becomes a quiet foundation. You begin to dream together, plan together, and most importantly, pray together. When prayer becomes the center of your connection and not just a background element, that's a sign that something sacred is forming between you. The final confirmation comes not just from what happens around you, but from what doesn't happen. Forced connections start to fade. Past attachments lose their grip. Confusion begins to dissolve. It's as if everything that once clouded your path is being removed to make room for something better. And in that clarity, you realize God is not just allowing this connection. He is preparing it, supporting it, blessing it. So if you begin to see this divine alignment in timing, in peace, in people, in purpose, take heart. These are not random events. They are whispers from the unseen, guiding you gently toward what is written. When God is saying yes, the world will begin to echo that answer in ways only your soul can truly understand. When God is saying yes to your desire to be with someone, He often confirms it through the unmistakable presence of mutual respect and spiritual growth between both of you. This is not merely about attraction or shared interests. It's a deeper connection that honors both your individual journeys and the divine purpose behind your union. Mutual respect means valuing each other's faith, boundaries, and personal growth, creating a foundation that God can bless and build upon. True respect in a spiritually guided relationship shows up in many ways. You find that both of you encourage each other to become better versions of yourselves, not by pressure or control, but by inspiration and support. When one of you struggles, the other lifts with patience and understanding. When one feels weak in faith or overwhelmed by life's challenges, the other becomes a source of comfort and prayer, reminding you of God's mercy and wisdom. This reciprocal spiritual encouragement is a sign that God's yes is at work. In relationships where God's blessing is present, communication is honest and compassionate. Difficult conversations don't become battlegrounds, but opportunities for growth. Both of you listen actively, seeking not just to respond, but to understand. There's a willingness to forgive, to admit mistakes, and to seek God's guidance together. This openness strengthens the bond and protects it from the common pitfalls of mistrust and resentment. Another sign of God's approval is when you both share similar values and aspirations, especially concerning faith and life goals. This alignment is more than just having things in common. It's about moving forward together on a path that honors God. You pray together, attend religious gatherings, or support each other's spiritual practices. These shared experiences deepen your connection and root your relationship in a purpose greater than yourselves. Moreover, mutual respect manifests in the way you treat each other's families and communities. In many traditions, the blessing of families is crucial for a relationship to flourish. When both of you honor and respect your families, seeking their blessings and involvement where appropriate, it shows maturity and readiness for a committed relationship. This also reflects God's desire for harmony, not just between two individuals, but within the larger social and spiritual circles that support you. Moreover, this peace affects how you interact with the person you desire to be with. It allows you to engage from a place of love, rather than neediness or desperation. When peace governs your heart, your actions become more thoughtful and genuine. You communicate with kindness, listen with openness, and respect boundaries without anxiety. This creates a healthy dynamic that reflects God's love and fosters mutual trust. This peace is also reflected in your prayers and spiritual life. You find comfort in turning to God, not out of panic, but out of a calm assurance that He hears you and is working for your good. Your prayers become moments of surrender and gratitude, where you release your desires into His hands while holding on to hope. In addition, the peace of God acts as a witness to others around you. People may notice your calm demeanor and ask how you maintain such serenity in the face of uncertainty. Your peace becomes a testimony, a silent but powerful sign that God's yes is present, working quietly but surely in your life. Ultimately, this deep sense of peace is one of the most beautiful confirmations that God is blessing your desire to be with someone. It reassures you that you are not alone on this path, that your hopes are being held tenderly by a loving Creator. When you feel this peace, embrace it fully, for it is God's gentle way of saying, "Yes, I am with you, and I am guiding you every step of the way." One of the most profound signs that God is saying yes to your desire to be with that person is when you experience a natural alignment of your values, goals, and spiritual visions. This alignment goes beyond superficial similarities or shared hobbies. It touches the very core of who you are and who you are becoming. When God is blessing a relationship, He unites two hearts that are not only compatible, but also purposefully aligned to fulfill a higher mission together. This alignment starts with shared values, principles that guide your lives and decisions. Whether it's faith, integrity, compassion, or commitment, these core values create a foundation that supports the relationship through all seasons. When you notice that your vision for life resonates deeply with the other person's, it's a strong indication that God's hand is at work. You find that your dreams don't conflict but rather complement each other, allowing both of you to grow individually and as a couple. Beyond shared values, this alignment extends to your spiritual visions. A relationship blessed by God encourages both partners to pursue their faith and spiritual growth actively. You inspire one another to pray, to seek wisdom from Scripture, and to live according to God's will. This shared spiritual journey becomes a unifying force, drawing you closer as you walk together on a path illuminated by divine guidance. Moreover, aligned goals are essential for a lasting and meaningful relationship. When God says yes, you find that your life plans harmonize rather than clash. This doesn't mean you must have identical ambitions, but that your aspirations support each other's growth and happiness. Whether it's career goals, family aspirations, or service to others, your paths intersect in a way that builds unity rather than division. This alignment fosters teamwork and mutual support. When challenges arise, and they inevitably will, you approach them as partners united by common purpose. You don't just face problems individually, but collaborate to find solutions that honor your shared values and goals. This teamwork is a hallmark of relationships blessed by God because it reflects the unity and harmony He desires for His children. Another important aspect of this alignment is how you influence each other positively. Instead of pulling one another away from faith or values, you lift each other up. You hold each other accountable, gently and lovingly, helping to strengthen character and deepen commitment. This positive influence extends beyond the two of you, often inspiring family, friends, and community to witness a living example of God's love and unity. When this alignment is present, you often feel a deep sense of clarity and confidence about your future together. Doubts and uncertainties fade because you see a clear path illuminated by shared purpose. This clarity brings peace and motivation, encouraging you to invest fully in the relationship with hope and trust. Ultimately, when your values, goals, and spiritual visions align naturally with another person, it is a powerful sign that God is affirming your desire to be with them. This harmony reflects His divine will and blessing, signaling that your relationship is built on a solid foundation that can withstand life's tests. Recognize this alignment as a sacred gift, one that invites you to walk forward hand in hand, growing together in faith, purpose, and love. When God says yes through this harmony, He is not only uniting two hearts but also calling you to fulfill a beautiful, shared destiny. May Allah bless you and guide you to a life filled with mercy, love, and tranquility.